So you remember that New Orleans Saints game? What if Alshon Jeffrey doesn't let that ball go through his hands? A lot of people think the Eagles go on to beat the Saints. Others think the Eagles would have gone on to repeat as Super Bowl champions. What if the Dallas Cowboys never traded for Amari Cooper? Would they even have made the playoffs? Probably not. Probably not. What about the Giants, right? The Giants start off real slow and then they got the Eli Manning face. Nah, forget the Giants, they stink. Bad example. Let's think about Jacksonville Jaguars. 2 years ago, the Jacksonville Jaguars are in the AFC Championship game. Last year, they stink. This year, they may go out and get a quarterback, and I'll tell you what, they could be back in the AFC Championship game. So you're asking, dingbat, what's the point of all this? And the point is this, and it's simple. The difference between a Super Bowl champion and a playoff contender is never that much. It's very, very small. And the moves that you make or you don't make will determine whether or not you get over the hump and become champs yourself.
Still the cowboy, Mr. McLean. You Americans are all alike. But this time, John Wayne doesn't walk into the sunset with Grace Kelly.
Scary Cooper, asshole.
Oh shit! Oh shit! That was crazy!
Happy trails, Hans. Dallas still stinks. We interrupt this Philly 500 program for a Philly 500 news update. If you haven't heard, Timmy Jernigan, his contract will not be picked up by the Eagles. This is just breaking. And basically, March 13th, he becomes a free agent. This will save the Eagles $7 million in cap space, and then they'll take a $6 million dead money hit in the ass. But the Eagles will get to save $7 million. They could always choose to bring Timmy Jernigan back at a lesser price. And let's just face it, this Timmy Jernigan long-term extension didn't work out. He came, he played great the first year. He was hurt pretty much all last year, and now he's cut. It was a little surprising, to be honest with you, when they signed him, because they were already giving Fletcher Cox so much money at that position. But anyways, it's not going to work out. The Eagles are going to save $7 million in cap space, and Timmy Jernigan's a free agent. Now, if he signs somewhere else, the Eagles will get a compensatory pick. So, with that said, now back to the regular Philly 500 program. Yo, everybody, doing King Dingbat here, and I hope everybody's having a wonderful day, a great start to your week, a good Monday. I figure the best way to start any week off is a little Eagles talk. So that's what I want to do in this video, because I was watching the Combine like all weekend. I was watching all of it. And as I'm watching it, especially yesterday, this whole Nick Foles story broke about how he's basically a done deal to the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're saying that there's not a lot of interest on other teams. Nick Foles wants to play for Jacksonville. Jacksonville wants him. They may have even talked numbers at this point, and it's going to happen. Nick Foles to Jacksonville is like 90%. It's going to happen. It's a done deal. That's what pretty much everybody's saying. And so as this was breaking, I went to go do a video, and I set up my camera. I start filming. I start talking, doing my dingbat stuff. And as I'm talking about this, all of a sudden, the room starts to spin. It starts to go this way, then it starts to go this way, and the ceiling's like waving like this. And I'm trying to figure out what's going on. And this is all on tape. I might have to release this one day. And I'm going, oh my gosh, what is this? Like some alien UFO abduction scenario happening here? What is going on? Then I realized, no, it's not that. It's that I feel sick. So I haul ass to the bathroom. I start puking up my guts. I know it's gross and all that. But as I'm on the bathroom floor, puking up my guts, all I could think about was Nick Foles. Nick Foles to Jacksonville. And I'm thinking, why didn't the Jacksonville Jaguars, why did they trade for Nick Foles last year? They go to the AFC Championship game. They have a very talented roster, but they need a quarterback. What do? They extend Blake Bortles when they could have traded for Nick Foles. Even Eagle fans were saying to Jacksonville fans, you should trade for Nick Foles. He's a perfect person. He's a perfect quarterback for you guys because you have a talented roster. He can take you to the next level. And then people, oh no, we got to give Blake Bortles a chance or whatever. But they extend Bortles. They don't go after Foles. And Jacksonville stinks last year. The quarterback stinks. They don't even make the playoffs. They go from the AFC Championship game to not even making the playoffs, okay? And I kept thinking about this, and I kept thinking about the Eagles, and I was just thinking, it's such a fine line between being a Super Bowl champion and being just another playoff contender or a team trying to get into the playoffs. It's a thin line, and the moves that you make or you don't make will determine, and sometimes it's the smallest moves that you don't even realize. And a lot of times you get teams who make the playoffs and they think, oh, we're so close, we don't really need to do much. We don't really need to take a chance to get to the next level because we're so close. We just need a few more things to go our way, execute a little better, and we'll be okay. But it doesn't work that way. You have to be aggressive in this league. You have to know when to make a move, and you have to know when not to make a move, and you have to know when to sign a free agent. It's a very fine line. And if you look at the Jacksonville Jaguars, if they signed Nick Foles last year, if they trade for him last year, I think the Jacksonville Jaguars are probably in the playoffs. I think Nick Foles would have made that big of a difference. And as far as Nick Foles going to the Jaguars this year, I wouldn't be surprised if you see the Jacksonville Jaguars back in the AFC Championship game. I mean it. I think Nick Foles, DeFilippo knows what Nick Foles is. He knows what Nick Foles does well. He watched Nick Foles on the run to the Super Bowl. He was there. He knows what to do. He knows how to handle Nick. And I think that they're going to be a great tandem, DeFilippo, Nick Foles, and I think Jacksonville is going to come back strong. I think they're going to be a playoff team. I think this is a huge move. And any Jacksonville Jaguar fan, shout out to UCF Jaguar, my main man, you should be excited because I think you got yourself a quarterback that can win in pressure situations and win a Super Bowl. So, hey, Jacksonville's going to be a good team this year. I think so with Nick Foles. No doubt about it. As far as the Eagles go, they're not far away from returning to being Super Bowl champions at all. They really aren't. A few right moves here and there, and they're back in the Super Bowl, double moonwalking Tom Brady's ass. You know what I mean? There's no doubt about it. And to be quite honest, actually, most playoff teams are only a few moves away from getting over that hump and being Super Bowl champions. Now, what you see that happens to a lot of playoff teams is some teams get there for whatever reason because they don't make enough moves or they make the wrong moves, they take a step back. Then you get other teams that kind of always just do the same thing and they're always in the playoffs, but they never get any further. And then you get teams that actually are close, make the right moves, and then boom, they get over that hump eventually. And I think the Eagles are very close to that, but they got to make the right moves. They got to make the right moves. So how do the Eagles go about becoming Super Bowl champions again? That's the question. We're going to be discussing it all off season. And I got to tell you, I don't think one thing works every year. I think that each year is a new year and things change. So in 2017, the Eagles go out, they sign Alshon Jeffrey. They signed Torrey Smith. They signed LeGarrette Blount. They trade for Jay Ajayi. The idea was simple. It was, we got a second-year quarterback, a guy that's young, and we need to provide him with veterans, with guys that are leaders in the locker room, guys that can help Carson develop and come along. And that's what they put around him, and they really focused on it, and it paid dividends. It paid dividends. They won a Super Bowl, okay? Now, if you fast forward to now, okay, Carson is going into his fourth year, and I don't think the Eagles need to worry about going out and getting guys who are veterans, who are leaders in the locker room. But they have it. They're established already. What this team needs is, in my opinion, is they need an influx of youth, and they need some guys at the skill position that are young that can give them 8 to 10 years to grow with Carson Wentz. They got to do that while putting themselves in a position to win another Super Bowl. And they can. They can do both. No doubt about it in my mind. On Friday, the Eagles re-signed Brandon Graham. On Saturday, they add a 1-year extension to Jason Kelce. He had 2 years left on his contract, but they give him the 1 year. They free up some cap space. Now, the Eagles aren't going to have a lot of cap space. They're not going to be able to sign a bunch of guys. Maybe they can have one big free agent signing, maybe 2 medium to small ones at most, okay? but they did give Kelsey that year. So you signed two guys, and I approve of both these signings. I think it was the right move. But at what point, I wonder, do you start saying to guys like Jason Peters, like, hey, we love you, but, you're a little too old now. You're getting a little too old. We need the cap space. We need to get a little bit younger here, and you let him go. I think Doug Pearson was saying the other day that he would love to have Darren Sproles back. And my thought is, isn't he getting a little old? Maybe you need to go a little younger at the running back position. Now, I love Darren Sproles, but maybe it's time to get an influx of youth. We have the leadership. We have the veterans. We have that already. We need the youth. We need young guys that could come in and play. And I think this is the key to the Eagles all season. And you're not going to really get that in free agency. You may get a guy here or there, but I think the whole key to this whole season is the draft. It's always been the draft. And for the Eagles, especially this year, they have to get two starters out of this draft. If they could get two legitimate starters, I think it could propel this team back to the Super Bowl, because I think this team's pretty solid everywhere. I really do. I know some people are worried about their secondary, but I got to tell you, I think if that pass rush is on point, that secondary will be better. Sidney Jones, really, that was his rookie season last year. Avonte Maddox, I think we're going to be okay. I think we are going to be okay. But we need to hit this draft. I think this is the whole key to the offseason. So they say free agency is for the immediate impact of a football team, as where the draft is for the future, for years to come down the road, okay? I think in the Eagles' case, this year with the salary cap being the way it is, our draft is not only for the future, but it has to be for the immediate impact of this team. And for that reason, I think if the Eagles have a situation where they really love a guy in the first round, they have to consider trading up for him. They have to. They have 2 second-round picks. They have 2 fourth-round picks. And if they get the opportunity, they need to move up. If you know a guy coming out is better than somebody on your team at a position, you have to go out and get him. You need that immediate starter. Okay? I really believe that. Now, I had a list of about 10, 15 guys that I'm considering the Eagles should get in the first round. And then this was before the Combine. Then the Combine happened, and 2 of those guys that were in the Eagles window all of a sudden are skyrocketing, and they may not be in the Eagles window anymore. I'm talking about Montez Sweat and DK Metcalf, okay? If the situation comes where, let's say, one of these guys is at about 13 or 14, I think the Eagles have to trade up. They have to trade up and get him. They have to do it because you need that starter. Montez Sweat, defensive end, 6'6", 260. He ran a 4.41, broke a record as a defensive end running the 40. The guy is unbelievable talent. He would be a great defensive end for us. Yes, we have Brandon Graham for a few more years. I'm not sure what Josh Sweat is, and I got to tell you, if I have an opportunity to get this kid, I would get him because I think he's a stud. The other guy who I really want bad, okay, is DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf ran, I think, a 4.33 in the 40. He's 6'3", 228 pounds. He did 27 reps, over 40-inch vertical. The guy is a complete and utter stud. He's a stud. And to add a big guy who's physical like him on the opposite of Alshon, who's not only physical, he's fast, he's a burner, would be exactly what we need. If he gets to 13, 14, 15, I would take him. There were a lot of, most mock drafts pre-combine had him going anywhere from 20 to like 31, 32, some even in the second round. Okay, he's the best receiver in the draft. After his combine, a lot of people think he's going to go top 10. Usually, he'll go somewhere in the middle. So I'm thinking between 14, 15, 16, 17. He'll go somewhere in that range. And if he does, if I'm the Eagles, I trade up for him because he would start right away. Now, the big knock on DK Metcalf is I think they say he's tight in his hips. Maybe he doesn't move too well, or so they thought. I don't buy it. Everything I see, this guy looks good. He's had a few injuries, and it's really cut down his production in college. And I think, maybe that will be why he doesn't go in the top 10. But if he gets to like 15, 14, somewhere around there, you got to trade up and get him. Both these guys. And you might lose a second-round pick, but you got another second-round pick, take a running back, at that point. I think the Eagles have to make sure they get an immediate impact player. And waiting at 25 or even trying to trade back, that's not the year to do it. We don't have enough salary cap space to mess around. If DK Metcalf is available and I want him, if I had to choose him or Sweat, I'll take him. If he's available, if he gets to 13, I'm trading up. That's my thoughts. I think this is the year for the Eagles to trade up in the first round. You got to get that immediate starter. What do you guys think? Also, those are the only two guys I have on my list that I would trade up for right now. There's probably going to be a couple more guys when it's all said and done, and I'll let you know when when I have them. But right now, if those two guys, let's say they get to 13, I'm making a move up in the draft. And if they're both available and I had to choose one or the other, I'm choosing DK Metcalf because I think he's exactly what the Eagles need. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the description box below, and I will talk to you later. With that said, take care, talk to you later, and don't be a dingbat.